If you haven't yet, you really should consider starting a few plants for your winter season, or maybe not all winter depending on where you're at. I'm zone 7, but I am in Colorado and we're at the base of the Rocky Mountains, so it does get really cold here. We're considered the high desert. I'm not a big leafy green eater. At least I'm not big enough that I'm going to grow it into the winter season. I'm trying to grow a lot of that in other spots, but it's mostly for my chickens because then I get the eggs and I do like the eggs. I do, however, really like broccoli, and the crazy part is I hated cauliflower when I was little, but I'm starting to like cauliflower too. So I have 2 different kinds of broccoli in here that have gotten really large. Then the whole center row is my cauliflower. This is actually one of the beds that they're going to go into that we prepped last week in a video. Now, I'm out here doing my morning chores in the garden when it hit me that I wanted to show you this. I've told you and I've preached about the 4-inch seed cells. They're by no means huge. My plants are getting that way. But they come in a solid sheet, and then you cut one corner one off, and it makes it really easy to bottom water. Let me show you. So I like that the sheet fits perfectly inside of a tray because I think it's really important to do bottom watering, especially through the seedling and beginning growth stages, because you can get a lot of algae and stuff like that growing on top of the soil, and it's a pain in the butt to deal with. So all I do is just cut one corner of the sheet out to where I can lift that corner one out. Then it makes it really easy to come in here and just fill up that bottom tray. Now, I've told you many times I promote general hydroponics. It's just that it's a really good product, and I like the liquid part because you can change the NPK just by changing the amount that you put inside the watering can. So I've started bringing the broccoli, my brassicas, out in the early mornings, and you can probably see here the sun's starting to come up, to get them that early morning sun, and then I get them back inside underneath the lights before the afternoon heat hits. And then soon enough, especially once those stupid white moths, the cabbage loopers, as soon as the cabbage looper threat goes down a little bit more, I'm going to plant these out here and then put a bunch in grow bags that I can take in and out of the greenhouse when it starts to get really cold. I'll take you over and show you what other cold weather crops I'm growing this year. If you haven't seen my earlier videos, over on the fence line between the 2 houses, I have 3 square-foot gardens. Apparently my rooster wants to be part of this video, so I apologize for that ahead of time. Rocky likes to be the center of attention. I found out this year that my chickens really like bok choy. This was all volunteered bok choy that came up from the seeds that I let the last one go to over here. They started on their own, and from what I read and seen, they can handle some pretty cold temperatures. So I'm going for 4 rows of bok choy. And then, and then down here at the bottom, the 2 10-gallon buckets that my son started with the kale in them. The kale lived, I think, partially because they get very minimal, really hot sun, only a few hours in the mid-afternoon. In the morning, they get shaded by the raised bed garden. In the late evening, they get shaded by the house. So I've been filling those with water every day and feeding the chickens off of that. They really like Swiss chard, so I planted the whole front of this one with Swiss chard. Now in all of them, I've got either a basil or a rosemary, something like that. I mix that in with their salads in the morning. I've read that it helps keep the bugs away, the mites, things like that, and I think I can see a difference, and the chickens tend to like it, so I do it anyway. And then I had another volunteer kale come up, and of course the big cherry tomato bush. We plant that in the middle because I love tomatoes, they love tomatoes, it's a win-win. And then the third bed, I just pulled these onions today because even though some things say that chickens don't like onions, mine do like onions, and the smell seems to be a deterrent on flies, things like that. Now, I also throw garlic in there too. I mean, it could be a lot of things, but it doesn't hurt them. Another basil over there, a bunch of kale. Those are, 4 different kale plants in 1 square foot. More Swiss chard. And then a whole bunch of celery over here on the end. And then, of course, the outside tower garden. And this year, I started a whole bunch of watermelon and canary melon down on the bottom that are doing phenomenal. And then up in the top, in the herb or the high capacity cells that are up here, I did a whole bunch of kale and Swiss chard because my chickens eat it like crazy. So yeah, they're spoiled. I know they're spoiled. It's okay. And of course, I've got tomato plants planted all over the property, which I'm going to figure that one out on give it, because the chickens are going to want tomatoes in the winter time too, just like we do. But my main point is, if you haven't started plants that can take some of the frost and some of the cold in the beginning parts of winter, then you're just hindering your garden. And I've hindered my garden for years. So this year I've decided to plant some of the things that I really like. Now, in my salads, I do eat lettuce, which I'm growing on the inside tower garden. The cool thing is go back and watch my tower garden video, and you'll see I grow all my lettuce and everything inside in the kitchen in that tower garden. And then along with the chickens, getting the Swiss chard, kale, and bok choy, that stuff all goes into salad too. So the longer I can extend into the winter, the longer we can have that stuff for salads as well. And I'm a big believer here recently that a lot of your nutrients that change with the seasons, like from plants in spring, summer, and fall into winter, can cause your mood changes. I've been really researching things like that. So if you can eat this stuff longer, maybe it'll have a better mental effect on you as well. Remember, you don't have to be a prepper to be prepared. I'm Steve with the Chili Prepper Channel. We'll see you next time.